Coming up in today's episode, we are breaking barriers with Daniel Jinadu, a professional footballer with a first-class psychology degree. We are tackling the turf and the mind as we look at the surprising similarities between a career in football and one in professional psychology. Whether you are in the world of psychology, you're a football fan, or both, I think you'll find this a really useful listen. Hi, welcome along to the Aspiring Psychologist podcast. I am Dr. Marianne Trent, a qualified clinical psychologist. So I started my psychology journey with psychology A-levels and a psychology degree. But of course, our interest before, during and after our psychology studies can take us in very different directions. I love hearing about where people are taking or planning on taking their psychology degrees and how they use their psychological underpinnings and theories to make sense of the world that they find themselves in. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today, who is himself a podcast host. But I have to confess, I was a terrible podcast host in today's episode because I forgot to ask him for all his details about where you can connect and where you can listen to his podcast. So I said that I would share the social links before and after our chat. Daniel Jinadu can be found on YouTube, which is where his podcast is, and the podcast Beyond Football is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also follow Daniel on Instagram, on LinkedIn and TikTok, where he is Daniel Jinadu. In case you're listening rather than watching, I'll spell that for you. Daniel is Daniel, Jinadu is Jinadu. So I can only apologise to Daniel. I was a little bit distracted with my little boy who had very sore skin and had been sent home from school. So I can only apologise, but I will look forward to catching up with you on the other side of this episode where I will share those links with you again. Hope you find this really useful. Just want to welcome Daniel to the podcast today. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Dr. Marianne. Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, thank you for saying yes. So we first connected on LinkedIn and I was really interested in chatting to you because not only are you a first-class psychology graduate, well done to you on that, but you are a professional football player and you really, really care about the welfare of players past and present, and you're really mindful about what it does to a person to kind of come out the end of a system like football. And I think that's really commendable.
No, thank you very much. I feel like it's all down to obviously being a player and seeing the effects that not having an identity beyond football can have on your career and your future life chances. So that's why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, it's really important. And, I think until voices are amplified, it doesn't stop people. It doesn't make people think. It doesn't make people think about the person as well as the player. And, I know that there's certain parallels here between aspiring psychologists who want to get onto professional qualifications and obviously professional footballers, because there's only so many places at the elite level in both of these careers. And it's really, really hard. And sometimes it's just subtle nuance, isn't it? It's just not quite right, or it's just not quite the right time. And there's not necessarily anything that's wrong with you as a person or a player. It's really, really tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very tricky. I feel like there's a lot of similarities there, and it's the dark world that we live in. Ultimately, there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of survival of the fittest. So you have to present yourself in the best way, making sure that you're gaining the edge between yourself and the other players or the other aspiring sports psychologists or places. Because even before I started studying psychology, I was told of how competitive it is to get onto master courses, to get onto your stage 2 of your qualified training, etc. But for me, as a footballer, that competitive side of it motivates me because I'm quite competitive. So I like coming out on top and winning when the odds are stacked against me. So I feel like it's just about the way you reframe it and use it as fuel.
Absolutely. I think in both of the careers, you are shoulder to shoulder with your competition, but they're also your friends and your colleagues. And there's also so much to be gained by kind of building one another up as well as elbowing them out the way. It's a really tricky playing field to navigate, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like you perfectly described the situation of a goalkeeper, or the goalkeeper dynamic, in terms of only one goalkeeper can play and get that spotlight. But oftentimes teams in the Premier League, they have two or three goalkeepers. So the goalkeepers who are not playing, they talk about the goalkeeper union. The goalkeeper union is quite a tight knit culture and environment between goalkeepers, because they know it's quite a lonely position, but goalkeepers are able to empathize with other goalkeepers about the demands of the game, the mental side of the game, how tough it is. So we're able to be close friends with our competitor, our fellow goalkeeper, but at the same time, we want that spot. So it's an interesting dynamic to have in terms of competition and healthy sportsmanship.
It really is. And I think I'm a mummy of a goalkeeper as well. He's much younger than you. He's at much earlier stage of his career. He's 7. But even this morning on the walk to school, he was talking about his game this weekend, and he was saying, "There's only so much I can do, Mum, because it's about the defence. If they're not helping me, or if they don't listen to me when I say keeper's ball, like it's really hard." And I don't know what to say to him. What would you say to him?
Yeah, for me as a young goalkeeper, I struggled. I struggled, and he's asking the right questions. So he's very intelligent, because ultimately there's not much you can do. You can only control what you can control. But as a young goalkeeper, I never understood that, because ultimately all young goalkeepers, we all want to keep a clean sheet. We want to save everything. We want to do our job for the team, but ultimately that's not always possible. So that obviously had a big impact on me in terms of my ability to deal with those situations, and influenced me even going and studying psychology and going down that pathway, and etc.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that when we first connected on LinkedIn, you were without a team at that point. And so really, really tricky stuff. How did you navigate all of that? How did you keep your focus up? How did you go about finding a team and kind of keeping your fitness up to such a level that you could kind of drop back into a team? It must have been really challenging.
Yeah, it's a challenging experience for anyone in terms of handling release and deselection. And ultimately, yeah, how did I keep the faith? Ultimately, number one thing is I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, so I have a firm foundation in terms of my Christian belief and having hope. They talk about faith being the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So that really helped me stay grounded and motivated to not take rejection as the final message. But as well, I have a good support network around me, good family that have helped me to see who I truly am and what I can become. So that helped me keep on pushing on, even when times get tough and you're just thinking what's going to happen. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt. But also as well, I think that motivated me as well was that genuine belief from deep inside me that I have what it takes to play at the highest level, and because I put in the work, and I feel like I have the skill and the talent. So those are the few different things that help me through those periods.
Yeah, really important stuff. And actually, again, as a parallel to psychology, it's that persistence, it's that perseverance, isn't it? So you could at that point have hung your boots up and been like, this isn't for me anymore. But there's one sure thing that stops your career trajectory or stops you developing in the way that you wanted, and that is saying, I'm not doing it anymore. And the same with psychology. Doctorate courses can be so tricky to get on that people are like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so of course, if you don't go for a second or a third or a fourth attempt, that is going to be the end of your professional psychology career, certainly at that point. So that is again an evidence of perseverance, creating the results. Because if you had tried a fourth or a fifth time, that might have led to results. But it is really tricky to not burn out. And it's really interesting to hear about your faith and, of course, your family being so important to you in that regard. How do you keep friendships? Because I'm sure they're such a key part of you. But what we know about kind of friendships is that they can be friends for a reason, friends for a season, and friends for lifetime. And the guys that you're playing with, and probably even, you know, everybody in the team, can feel like such a key part of you. But when you leave the team, does that translate into real life? And are you able to keep some people to kind of take you forward and to support you in the next stages of your career?
Yeah, definitely. Before I answer that question, I wanted to just build on what you said about persistence needed for obviously sports psychs, and how it's parallel to footballers and their persistence. I feel like it's so important. I feel like it's the difference between being successful and not being successful. Your ability to handle your bounce back ability. They talk about failing big and multiple times before you can get it right and it clicks. So if you don't have the grit or the resilience to fail multiple times and be rejected multiple times, then I don't feel like you have what it takes to be successful. I feel like it's an important skill to have. And your question about friendships and the football system, yeah, I feel like it's depending on. It's similar to a workplace environment where you get on with some of your colleagues, some better than others. So that's how it's been at different clubs that I've been at. There's been people I've created close bonds with that the friendship lasts, you know, beyond you playing for that club, or beyond the different environments that you're in. But there's other friendships that might not have gone to that deeper level. But I feel like it's so important because, you know, football, they say football especially is a small world, you know. Everyone knows everyone to an extent. So, you know, having those close connections and being able to relate when you might go to another club to say something, oh, you know Will, and then you're able to have similar, that's that initial bonding connection that you're able to have with other people. So you're able to build rapport with other people at other places that you go to.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for bringing me back to the one that I just kind of moved on from. It's really, really important to kind of let you have your say as well. So thank you for doing that with me. Yeah, like I watched Ted Lasso. Have you watched Ted Lasso?
I've seen this trailer. I haven't actually watched
So
the
good. It's so good. So
main.
I would never have thought it would be my cup of tea. And I bought an Apple Watch a while ago, and they gave me 3 months free Apple TV. So that's what gave me that. But I watched it, and it's honestly one of the best shows I've ever watched. There was a slightly dodgy patch in series 2, which was a bit weird. But series 1, 2, and 3, I just loved them. Like, such great characters. And if anyone's like, what is Ted Lasso? It is the story of a Premiership manager and the team and the people that are kind of within that, and it's great. So I would recommend. I mean, for you, it might not feel like do I watch shows about psychology? Yes, I probably would, but you know, is there an interest in that, or are you like also footballed out that you're like, no, that's going to wait for another day?
In terms of
Ted Lasso.
watching, watching Ted
Watching
Lasso.
what, yeah, and you know, watching the Netflix Beckham, you know,
Oh no,
documentary and kind
I
of.
watch it. I watch it. There's so many out. There's so many out that it's difficult to keep up. That's the thing. So I've watched the David Beckham documentary. I watched the All or Nothings on Amazon Prime. The
Is that the Man City one? My kids are watching the
Yeah,
Man City one at the moment.
there's a Man City one. There's a Arsenal one, and there's another one.
Is
I think
My
it's
kids will be
another.
rooting for a Spurs one. They are Spurs fans,
Ew,
and my husband.
no, I
Dirty
don't think
word.
that would. I don't think that
You
would.
don't think that will come about? The
Nah.
stadium is amazing, though. I did visit there in the summer for my eldest boy's birthday, and the Spurs stadium. is just incredible, like really, really amazing place. So tell me about the team that you play for at the moment. You're coming to the end of the season and you're just telling me that you just won at the weekend. So congratulations to you and the team on that win.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what would you like to know about the team?
What's it like? What's it like being part of the team? What's it, are they welcoming and they're supportive? I guess what's it like when you're having to answer to the fans, especially as a goalkeeper? It must be very difficult. People can be really mouthy, can't they? And, probably even within your team and probably getting jibed by the other players. Like, how do you manage all of that?
Yeah, it's through experience, through developing different coping mechanisms over the years. But yeah, the team are amazing. I feel like we've got a good dynamic of people in and around the change room. We've got great banter, so we enjoy our work. Training's not there's never a dull day. There's never a dull day out on the pitch or in the change room or when we go out together. So it's really good. The fans, yeah, the Maidenhead fans are amazing in terms of the support and everything, but opposition fans can be a pain in the ass, especially as a goalkeeper. We get all the stick saying, we get abuse not only to us, to our family members, sometimes to different things. Yes, but it's part of the game. It's part of the job.
Do you
For
almost have
me,
to
I
harden yourself to that a little bit and just expect that it's
yeah,
not people aren't always going to like you, and that's just how it is, and it's not personal. It's just it is what it is.
exactly that, exactly that.
Yeah. And has racism, I know racism is they're trying to stamp it out in football, but I'm sure that's not universal. Has that cropped up for you?
Yeah, no, thankfully I haven't actually experienced direct racism in terms of whilst I've been playing or anything, but there is different forms in terms of indirectly and the way players have been treated and everything. But thankfully, I haven't had direct experiences with that.
Good. I'm pleased to hear that. And I think there's something around the younger generations generally being more inclusive, more aware, more thoughtful, more mindful. My boys, well, we're in Coventry, which is a really kind of multicultural city. And they're just watching their friendships with people of all races and all backgrounds is really, really lovely. And I've got a nephew who's very similar in age to you. And just the way that he talks, he's half Italian himself, but the way he talks about his friends and their race and their background, and the way that they just would not stand for any discrimination, in their friends, and that they would speak up to that. I think and hope that is the change in the younger generations, that people genuinely are like, you're no different to me. We may have different skin color, we may have different faith, but actually, these are my friends and they're still really important to me. I'm not going to let you say that to him or to them. That for me, as a woman who's 42, that feels like that's been a cultural shift, hopefully in the UK, which is going to go from strength to strength. I mean, I can't change your age. I can't show you what it was like for me when I was growing up and what it was like for my friends growing up. But yeah, I don't. Have you seen that change happen at all from your perspective over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like people are becoming wiser in terms
Mm.
of their understanding of people and how to treat people and interact with people who are not like you. For me, I can never wrap my head around racism or discriminating against someone because they're different or they look different to you. It just doesn't make sense. I think it's a level of stupidity in my opinion. But yeah, I feel like there's definitely been a change or positive step.
Good, good. Long may it continue to thrive and develop. Thinking about you and psychology then, and you and psychology and goalkeeping, we're thinking about the negative attribution bias, which you might well recall. You can have 10 experiences that are positive and one that's not good, and it will be the one that's not good that gets spoken about. How do you manage that in terms of goalie? Because this is you saving 10 exceptional goals and letting one in. And what we know is that that is the one that's likely to get talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Before I even get into this question, I'd love to even just discuss about how I even got into psychology and studied it,
Please do.
etc. Yeah, so I started well, first heard about psychology when I studied it at GCSE in year nine. So I studied it in year nine for GCSE, and what really hooked me was just learning about just the science of behavior, how just understanding why people behave the way they behave. And what really like got me really hooked into psychology was just learning about Ash's study and conformity, the psychological phenomenon in which people change their beliefs or the behaviors because of the people around them. Learning about that and its influence on different aspects of literally everything made me just have that passion for it and made me continue studying it alongside my football, playing for whilst I was playing for Chelsea and West Ham. So doing my A level in psychology, and then obviously going on to study it at university. But negative attribution theory is, as a goalkeeper, how would you define attribute? Like attribution is talking about like the causes, or what you basically describe the causes of something, basically, right?
Yeah, so it's what you see as a negative thing. So it's a negative judgment or negative label that you're applying to something, and it's just it's that one thing that looks different or has gone wrong that's more likely to get remembered. So it's like the novel concept. So actually, evolutionary, it pays more sense to pay attention to the stuff that makes you sick or the stuff that actually feels really scary. So that's why it exists as a concept, so that it's not making you miss anything that might be really, really important for you, surviving. Whereas obviously things that feel good are good, they release dopamine and all that jazz. Like, who doesn't like a bit of dopamine? But actually things that feel awful or are going to be releasing all of your stress hormones, your cortisol and, your all your nasty hormones that get your fight and flight going. Those are the things that are more likely to be dangerous to you. And so it would make sense that we'd pay more attention to the negative things. But obviously, we're trying to navigate life with quite old brains in a modern world, and it's a very different environment that we find ourselves in now than what they were designed for.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with that, it's all about reframing the different situations or um aspects that you're in, because what you're describing there is similar to obviously negative reinforcement. You have a negative experience that reinforces behavior, or even a bit of like paranoia in terms of, okay, cool, you don't want that negative experience, so then you might change your behavior. As a goalkeeper, yeah, we go through that a lot in terms of avoidance of negative experiences and avoidance of that fight or flight situation. We have to learn from a young age not to fight or flight, because our job is to literally stand in front of a ball that's moving at high speeds, or maybe put our hand in front of a ball that's might break one of our fingers. So it's not a natural human action. So basically, yeah, we basically have to train our bodies to override those natural responses.
Absolutely. That is, and it's not an easy thing to do. Even as I watch my boys and their teams play football, sometimes they'll flinch or they'll turn their back on the ball. And you're having to really train yourself not to do that. And I am scared of footballs, I have to say. From growing up in a comprehensive school where the football would fly over the net and hit you in the face, and it's gritty and it's cold and it hurts, and it's also a bit humiliating. Like, that's stayed with me as a bit of a trauma. And the kids know there's one thing that's going to annoy me, it's hitting mummy in the face with a football. Like, it's really difficult. And yeah, like you see goalies take balls to the face and all sorts, and they've just got to keep on, haven't they? You've just got to, keep your eye on what's going on and kind of suppress your physical sensations and your emotions as well. It's not an easy job to do at all.
No, not at all, not at all. Because one particular situation for me, whilst coming through the academy system at Chelsea, was learning the specific goalkeeping technique of a block save. A block save is a save where the striker or the person opposition is quite close to the goal, and you have to put your body frame in a lower position and make your body big, as if you're blocking the ball from going past you, either whether it hits your face or any part of your body. That ultimately is to prevent the ball from going past you. And a key tendency that a lot of younger goalkeepers have whenever they're learning that technique is to turn their face away, because it's your natural response, because obviously you know that the ball is going to hit you, it's going to injure you, so your body's naturally going to turn your face away out of protection. So it was difficult for me to get out of that natural inclination to turn your head. But once you're making a block save, it's so important to make sure your head stays square, eyes on the ball, which is obviously contradictory to your natural responses. But yeah, just having that, I feel that's what different skills that separates high level goalkeepers from ones that are not as high level.
It's that fearlessness, and it's another parallel there with psychology profession, isn't it? You've got to keep your eye on the game. You've got to keep looking forward, no matter what's trying to distract you or no matter what feels scary. Yeah, like just really, really hard stuff that you're having to put your body and your mind through, Daniel. How old were you when you first got scouted?
Yeah, I got scouted at when I was 12. When I was 12, I was playing for my local Sunday league team. We were doing quite well. We were doing quite well, playing games, and I remember the game so vividly. It was one of the games where I think I made an assist from my goal, so I literally just booted the ball up the pitch, and then the striker scored, and I think we ended up winning the game. And then after the game, went home, showering. Then my brother just knocks on the door, and he's just screaming. He just said, "Wow, you got scouted by Chelsea! You got scouted by Chelsea!" And I was like, I didn't believe him at first. And then my mum came in to confirm it, and we just started screaming and shouting and everything. So
Amazing. It's
yeah.
so lovely to watch you reflect on that, because it's obviously still a really fond memory. You smiled as you were talking about it, and even though you were 12, it's a key formative experience for you, and one that has led to you being, where you are now. Yeah, like really special stuff. But basically your whole adolescence and beyond has been kind of on the professional football scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you live at home during the whole time, or have you been kind of had the David Beckham effect of kind of moving away and having kind of house parents and all of that jazz?
Yeah, I've had a mixture of both. I've had a mixture of both. So living at home through the early years, and we often did trips away, so times away from home where we're staying with maybe host families, staying at a hotel or going abroad. I know when I was at Chelsea, we went to 5 or 6 different countries on international tournaments. And yeah, moving abroad for when I played for Barnsley, living on my own for the first time, etc., and staying at home, all of that.
Yeah, again, another psychology parallel as well. So whilst we don't tend to move around internationally for aspiring psychologist roles, sometimes you can be flitting about all over the country for different roles and kind of starting again and trying to make new colleague relationships and kind of where you're going to live. And like sometimes you might not even know where somewhere is, and a job comes up and you think, oh, I'll give that a go. And, then your whole life is different. And yes, it's kind of in your control because you could say no. But if you want your career to keep moving forward, it's not really a choice that you can say no to when that offer comes up.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's just about being open to the different experiences and enjoying the journey.
Yeah. And I know there's probably, is it the majority of professional footballers now are coming up through the academy systems, but are there other ways to become professional footballers, or, what's that like at the moment?
Yeah, there is definitely other ways. It's not only the academy system route that is the only way. It's even a main message that I was speaking with on one of my podcast episodes, in terms of, which is titled A Different Way, a different journey to becoming a professional football, which is through the non-league route and through playing Sunday league and going up through the ranks of playing men's football from a young age. I know a lot of clubs are valuing young players who have men's football experience from a young age, because it's something that academy players might not have.
Right. Okay. It's important stuff. Have you done any coaching yourself yet, or done your refereeing, or are you still firmly in player mode?
Yeah, so I have my coaching badges. I have my UFSC, FA level 2. I did the national goalkeeping course last year, so I have a little bit of experience doing that.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm sure once you've got that insight as well, it makes you look differently on your own career and the people that have supported you as well. It gives you new insight when you learn new stuff, doesn't it?
Definitely.
So something that's cropped up for me in the last year is I broke my left arm in April last year, and injury really sucks. Like, it affects everything. It affects the way you think about yourself. Like, I'm quite into kind of sport and exercise, and when you're injured, you can't do that. Like, you can't sleep. It hurts. I noticed my mood took a real dip. Is injury something that's cropped up for you in your career?
Yeah, it has. It has. My remember my first big injury was when I tore my MCL as a first year scholar at West Ham. It was a painful experience because it was right before I was supposed to play in the FA Youth Cup games, which is like the pinnacle of the experience of being a scholar. FA Youth Cup is one of the like biggest tournaments like for scholars. So it was a frustrating experience. But yeah, tearing your MCL. So I had a grade 2 tear. So it was almost like fully, the ligaments were almost fully torn. But luckily I was able to manage it without getting a surgery. So I had to just wear a knee brace for almost 12 weeks, knee brace and crutches for almost 12 weeks. And yeah, it was,
How
it
did that
was,
affect your mood at that time?
yeah, it was very difficult. Initially, it was difficult to obviously get your head around not playing and going through a new experience, not knowing what's going to happen, etc. But one thing that really helped me was the fact that I was studying alongside my football. Gave me
Right.
something else to gave me something else to
Nice.
focus on.
Yeah.
Studying my A level psychology alongside my football, and I remember, yeah. So after my day of rehab, I go home and just do some revision, do some tests, and it's a good balance. It's something I speak about in my podcast in terms of having an identity beyond football, something like that. It allows you to take your mind off it and put your teeth into something else where you can have some autonomy or control over,
Okay.
that you can
Yes, that
succeed.
locus of control stuff's really, really important, isn't it?
That's right.
Control the things you can control rather than worrying about the things that you can't. And I guess trying to nourish your body optimally so that you can repair the kind of tendon and ligament damage, and so that you're maintaining your muscles elsewhere. I think what I learned from my experience with my arm was your ligaments and your tendons get very wise very quickly when they're not being used, and they shrink up. And it they shrink far quicker than they grow. And the growing of them again is actually some of the most painful bits.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's a frustrating experience, especially with ligaments and tendons, because they don't heal as well as bones,
Mm.
especially tendons. I recently had an injury, a mallet finger injury, in which my tendon or my ligaments and tendons in my finger, they've been torn. So my finger now will never be straight again because the tendon wasn't able to heal properly, and
Oh
it doesn't.
gosh.
It takes quite a long time to heal.
So football is shaping your body for the better and the worse. Like you're stuck with that now.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you wear some wicked goalie gloves? If you got cold hands in winter is a real problem for goalies. That's what I've been experiencing. Have you got some super duper gloves that stop that happening?
Nah, not really.
No.
I'm sponsored. I'm sponsored by Links Goalkeeping, which are great goalkeeping brand.
Tell us about them and their gloves.
Yeah, I feel like they're a modern style of gloves. They're mainly on Instagram. They have a lot of high profile goalkeepers across the country, different countries, but they create a lot of content on YouTube and on TikTok, and just really appealing to the next generation of goalkeepers, which is why I really like working with them. They make amazing goalkeepers. They make goalkeeping fun, in which it is.
Brilliant. I will check that out and yeah, have a look whether they do little people sizes as well as big people sizes.
100%,
I did have
I'm sure I'll be able to help sort you out.
Oh, bless you. You are kind. So yeah, have you got any kind of advice for, I guess, aspiring psychologists who might want to pursue sports psychology or any professional psychology route, and who might also be interested in football, for not burning out on the way? Because it's really, really hard, and it's not knowing whether it's going to be a tough slog that has the prize at the end that you hope is going to be there.
Yeah, I would say don't do it. Just quit. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Nah, if you, nah, I'm joking. I'm joking. But nah. In
But
terms of not,
the temptation is there sometimes, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah, definitely. You have to wait. Your why has to be strong. Your why has to be strong in terms of why you want to do it, why you want to get qualified, why you want to go down that period. If your why is not strong enough, then it'll be a very
Okay.
difficult thing.
So on those days when you want to quit, you've got to really connect to your why. That's how you push through. That's how you get to another day.
Yeah, 100%, 100%, and as well as that, you've got to be disciplined. You've
And you
got to be
certainly
really.
are. They don't give away first class degrees, and nor do they give away, places on football teams. So you've obviously got a whole lot of discipline, and your family and your friends and the way that you apply yourself, you are wise, and it pays dividends. And so credit to you where it's due.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But yeah, just to add on to that in terms of advice, yeah, it's just about having a balanced schedule. So whilst I was final year last year, whilst playing football, final year dissertation, etc., everything, football games, balancing all of those things, navigating social lives and everything. I feel like it's just having a good organized schedule, discipline and time management, creating opportunities to do other things other than football or work or
Mm.
school or uni work or placements or other things. It's just yeah, that work life balance.
Really, really important stuff. And sometimes that looks like just laying down and doing nothing. And sometimes we're
Yeah.
able to say no to people to prioritize actually doing nothing. And that's okay too, isn't it? Have you got aims to maybe go on to become a sport and exercise psychologist? What's the ultimate goal, do you think? Because there will come a time when your body will start to say no to football. You know, you are still lovely and young at the moment, but believe me, that won't last forever. Have you got an ultimate professional goal?
Yeah. So obviously, I spoke about my experience of I didn't even speak about my experience of working with psychologists in the academy system, and my experience with psychology, dealing with negative experiences as a goalkeeper. So yeah, so studying psychology alongside that. Yeah, just but the work I'd done with sports psychologists whilst being at West Ham really helped my game go to the next level, allow me to cope and be the player I am today. So we spoke about me, or it being difficult to cope with mistakes or conceding goals as a goalkeeper is something that it was really frustrating for me, where if I made a mistake or if I maybe conceded a goal, it will affect the rest of the training session or the rest of my next action or performance because of that mental fog or dwelling on that previous mistake. But working with sports psychologists at those different teams allowed me to develop coping mechanisms to reframe those situations and actually perform better. So using stuff like positive self-talk, breathing techniques in order to deal with those negative thoughts whilst training or even in the games allowed me to take my performance to the next level. So just having experiences like that, and obviously studying psychology alongside that, had my had my eyes set on becoming a qualified sports psychologist, and having my own practice and using my experiences and qualifications to help the next generation of footballers take their performance to the next level. That's ultimately the goal. But it's
Great.
the accreditation pathway is daunting.
It
It
is,
is.
yeah. There was multiple stages. But yeah, I wish you all the very best with your professional footballing career, and where that may take you, but also your psychology career in future. And if there's anything I can do to support any of that at any point, just give me a shout.
No, I will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to speak with our audience. I know you're super, super busy. So yeah, thank you again for your time, Daniel.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for having me on. It's been
Oh,
really good.
you're so welcome. What an absolute pleasure to speak with Daniel. Thank you again for him in spending his time with us and helping us to look at the similarities and the differences between a psychology career and one as a professional footballer. Daniel seems very wise, even beyond his years, and very thoughtful. He was just recovering from a really awful cold. Hope that by the time you listen to this, Daniel, you are feeling fully recovered. Daniel Jinadu can be found on YouTube, which is where his podcast is, and the podcast Beyond Football is also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also follow Daniel on Instagram, on LinkedIn and TikTok, where he is Daniel Jinadu. I would love to know what this has evoked for you. Perhaps you're listening because you yourself are an aspiring sport and exercise psychologist, or perhaps you're listening just because you have an interest in all the different facets of psychology, or just in the interest of people, which is one of my specialist interests as well. If you, like me, are passionate about psychologists having a protected title, please do go and sign the petition, which you can find by going to my LinkedIn profile, Dr. Marianne Trent, and there is a post there that is pinned where you can read all about the petition. At the time of recording this episode, we are on 8,707 signatures. When we get to 10,000 signatures, we will get some sort of feedback from the government. And when we get to 100,000 signatures, which we are not going to stop until we do, this will be considered for a debate in Parliament. So if you, like me, are passionate about this, please do sign that petition and do come on over to my Instagram as well, Dr. Marianne Trent. Let me know on there and let me know on LinkedIn that you have signed and why. I hope you find these podcasts really interesting. If you do, do, please follow the show on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe, like the content, do all those good things. Share it, tell your friends if you are watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Come over to the free Facebook group, the Aspiring Psychologist community with Dr. Marianne Trent. Consider the membership, the Aspiring Psychologist membership, and the books as well. The Aspiring Psychologist Collective and the Clinical Psychologist Collective. Thank you for listening and for watching and for being part of my world. The next episode will be available to you from 6 a.m. on Monday for the audio version and is available from 10 a.m. on Saturdays for the YouTube version. Take care and be kind to yourselves.